at Windsor Castle, died at Windsor Castle, and buried in Windsor Castle. You know what I mean? So slavery has been an integration of black people from all parts of the continent, all mixed up together and sent to different parts of the world. You know, so but Ethiopia has a special place for Jamaica, and Ethiopians. When Ethiopians say Jamaica, they mean the whole of the Caribbean. It's just that they're more familiar with the name Jamaica, you know. So when His Majesty visited the Caribbean and returned back to Ethiopia, he went on the radio and said that Ethiopians and Jamaicans are blood brothers and and sisters. So that connection has always been there. That connection's always been there.
And literally, I didn't see it literally until I get you don't see this in the textbooks, you know what I mean? You know, literally, it's that connection when the British them invaded, you know what I mean? The direct blood brothers was taken back from Ethiopia into the Caribbean, you know what I mean? And enough people think say is the lighter skin people is the Ethiopian. The Ethiopia is so vast when they go far into the countryside. The Ethiopians are very, very dark. You know what I mean?
There's over 80 different tribes in Ethiopia, you know what I mean? And they all have their own languages, they have their own flag, they have their own governments, they have their own cultures, you know what I mean? And they integrate with each other over the years, they work with each other over the years. But you find, say, in the last 5 or, you know, say the last 10 years, there have been different fractions from different governments who challenge the federal government. They want more autonomy, they want more power in their different regions. And this is what's been causing some of the problems recently. The recent uprisings. They've been on tribal grounds, but mainly on administrative levels. So you'd say like the government, the Aroma government, the Aroma people have their own government, right? And that government, they want more autonomy, more power. The federal government is a federal government, so the federal government is has the army in charge of the police, in charge of the finances. So the federal government will want to take land from different regions to say for investment purposes or to increase the urban side of different towns. But a lot of regional governments don't agree with some of the things that the federal government wants to do in their region. So these cause the conflicts, which we've seen over recent times.
How does the conflict affect the Rastafari community?
Well, to be fair, you know, I mean, we don't partake in the politics in Ethiopia. That's number one, all right?
Because the Rastafarian has been given part of the tribe now. What the third?
Yeah, we're one of the I think it's the 85th tribe, or we've been recognized as a tribe, right? But when the disturbances were taking place in Shashamane, for example, the Rastafari community wasn't heavily affected by it. There were some members who were heavily affected by it as individuals, but as a community as a whole, we were quite, safe in terms of attacks. The Lily of the Valley Hotel was totally destroyed.
Yes,
you know what I mean. You had 1 or 2 other businesses that were partially destroyed.
Is the Lily of the Valley back up and running?
The Lily of the Valley is back up and running. I'm not sure if it's in the same hands as who had it before, but it is being put back together. Individuals in their houses weren't really assaulted or set upon by Ethiopians. So there is a respect for our community amongst a lot of Ethiopians. So you'll find that sometimes they won't trouble us, that much, but they do trouble us. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of the uprising, obviously, the security was high. Members in the community stayed in their house. They didn't venture out. They didn't put themselves in harm's way.
Well, question just coming at my head. From your time of traveling to Ethiopia to present time now, what have you really see like the development or the stages of Rastafari? Because I can remember the first time I came to Ethiopia, the roads them was very good. And the second time the road them get better. No tramp running through the city after this. But on a Rastafarian level, from the time How long you be?
I've been there since 1992.
Yeah.
I first repatriated to Ethiopia.
Them time I'm still in high school.
Yeah, I mean, at that time, you know, you had Gary's, which was like horse and cart. That was the main mode of transport. You know what I mean? If you was going to get a bus from Addis to Shashamani, sometimes it could be 8 hours. Now you can cut it down to 3.5 to 4 hours to get to Shashamani. So the whole infrastructure of Ethiopia has changed. You know what I mean? From sewerage to electricity to road development to trains running, trams running, more motor vehicles in Ethiopia, more modern buildings going up. So Ethiopia has gone through a full transformation from the time that I first went.
One of the next question I'm gonna ask is there's a blueprint was shown me when one of them other people in the last time I was in Ethiopia, and the blueprint has just come up to Sashamani development, because I have noticed all the adjacent community them have been developed. The lane, the road, or the development. If you come out of Sashamani and go down a Wanda Guinea and further on, you can see the full development. And one of the obvious said the development has just come to Sashamani, and this was causing problem because ones have like put houses or plots or land in where the development should, you know what I mean, and I understand that this blueprint was from His Majesty time, and the development has just reached Sashamani. So give a little update on that.
Well, what I will say to you, right, is that we have to remember that Ethiopia is landlocked. There's no seaport, right? So everything is by road, right? So the road network dictates the development of any particular area. Shashamani being one, right? So Shashamani is the hub. So it's the hub for any transportation going east, west, north, and south. Shashamani is that place. It's right at the crossroads, right? So all transport going east, west, north, and south passes through Shashamani. So Shashamani, over the years,
King's Highway.
And the King's Highway, have had to cater for that influx of people coming in, spending a night or two in Shashamani. So Shashamani town itself has always been able to accommodate that, and it's developed that. But what has happened in the development for Shashamani, the first thing has been about road networks and road access. So people who had land in certain areas, some of them lost, say, a meter or 2 meters of their land because the roads were widening. So you've got the main road, and then you've got the roads that come off the main road have been widened to facilitate the amount of traffic that needs to be that's going in and out of Shashamani.
Because a lot of the Rastafarian them was arguing said them land this, then take away. But in reality, there was a blueprint, and enough of them never follow the blueprint. You know, some come and do what they want to do and then follow the regulations. And in truth, there was a little, where I put it right words, because the blueprint they show you if ones have followed the blueprint, enough of these I don't think would be an issue.
Well, the blueprint is really for urban and industrial
development.
And to have urban and industrial development, you have to have a good road network.
Yes.
So a lot of ones who had land where it was earmarked for new roads or roads to be widened, those individuals lost that piece, piece of their land.
So it wasn't like a deliberate act on the Ethiopians then to invade on one land.
No, it wasn't, because it wasn't just the Rasta community that was affected.
Exactly.
The Ethiopians were also affected. And no one's happy when the government comes along and says, well, we're going to take a portion of your land because we want to expand the road. You know what I mean? A lot of ones are not going to look to say, well, it's the future, it's development. Ones are more concerned about, I'm going to lose land, and who's going to pay me for my land.
But in reality, this blueprint was given to a lot of them from even.
Yeah, the blueprint. You see, what you got to understand, right, is that His Majesty had 5-year plans on from agriculture to investment to education to health. There was a 5-year plan written for all those areas, right? Once the Derg regime came in, they changed all of that, right? And then you had after the Derg regime went, you had the federal this federal government came in, but at first they wasn't. They was like a transitional government, right? So it wasn't the full government in a sense. It was a transitional government working towards getting a full federal government. So a lot of things had to change, but the government, the transitional government, couldn't say, well, follow or follow the legislation or the policies of the Derg regime. Otherwise, they'd be embracing that regime. So they've had to go back to the original. You understand? So anything that's been brought in new, in terms of policies and in terms of development, has come off the back of the policies that were set by His Majesty's government.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So a lot of things have been revamped. A lot of things have been updated, but they had to start from somewhere. And the only place that they could start from was from His Majesty's government. You know what I mean? So, for example, during the transitional government period, which was about 5 years, I was in Ethiopia at that time, and Safe for Investment. The Derg government had their own investment policies, right? The new government, the transitional government, they rejected those investment policies and they put their own investment policies in place. But the investment policies that they put in place came from the investment policies from His Majesty's government. But what they've done is to revamp it and make it more modern, so that it can be used. And even now, it's always been upgraded and all a new things being done. But where they had to start from as a government is the important thing. You know what I mean? They had to go right back to what His Majesty had established for Ethiopia, so that this new government could take Ethiopia to the next stage in its development. And that's what's been happening. So the blueprint that was given for Shashamani from that time, say in the 70s or late 60s, has changed. You know what I mean? It was still about urban and development and industrial development.
And
a road network.
Has those roads been finished in Shashamani now?
Most of them have. Most of them have. There was a new road. You had the King's Highway, which from Addis to straight to Shashamani and beyond. But now there's another parallel road as well, new road, which takes a lot of the traffic also. And along that new road, more businesses have been set up. So Shashamani town you could say it's like a service town now. So you can get your services before you actually get into the town, which helps the flow of traffic. You know what I'm saying? And it increases investment opportunities for individuals as well. So those have been the major changes. The city limits of Shashamani has also expanded because of the amount of people coming into Shashamani. Like I said earlier, Shashamani is the hub. So if you're an investor and you want to know where to invest, then you're going to invest in areas where the most activities take place. And Shashamani is one of those places in Ethiopia where it's guaranteed that there's a lot of activities going on, because it's the hub and the crossroads for transportation, because Ethiopia is landlocked. So everything is by road. So a lot of Ethiopians have planned their investment based on understanding that. And we as the Rasta community have been a little bit slow in taking opportunity of that fact. You know what I mean? But now that we have IDs, it's easier for us to take advantage of those opportunities. Those ones who don't have the ID and they're looking to come to Ethiopia, you can't just come to Ethiopia next week and get the ID. That's not going to work. You understand? So, but you can get low investment IDs.
So, like, my eligibility of getting that ID now?
No, well, you're as far as I'm concerned, well, you're on the list.
I'm on the list.
You're on the list. What the government has said is that we should provide a list to the government of the Rastafari community eligible for the ID. You know what I mean? You're a resident of Ethiopia. You've been coming to Ethiopia regularly. You've contributed to the community. your right to get that ID. So the government is saying that anyone that's going to get their ID as a Rasta has to get a support letter from the Ethiopian World Federation or a support letter from the JRDC.
So if you're not an EWF member,
You
what
can,
is the situation?
no, you can still get your ID.
Okay.
The government isn't recognizing organizations; it's recognizing Rasta as Rasta.
Okay.
They're not saying, even though I was one of the ones that was agitating to the government to get this ID on behalf of the Ethiopian World Federation members, the government decided to look. This isn't an organization matter as far as they're concerned. This is a Rastafari community matter. So they've made sure that all Rastas, whether you're 12 tribe, Bubushanti, Federation, doesn't matter, you can get your ID. You understand?
What is the update on the EWF World Federation in Shashamani?
The Ethiopian World Federation in Shashamani is growing. All right, you find that a lot of ones from the 12 tribes or the Nyabingi house or
Is
the
it still
Bubushanti
functioning?
house, yes,
Yeah.
they're realizing that there needs to be an administration, there needs to be a government in Shashamani that deals with our needs and make sure that our rights are not being infringed. So a lot of ones are now coming to the Ethiopian World Federation for that support, and in turn they're supporting the organization too. So the organization is growing in Shashamani. We have a HQ in Shashamani as well, which is being refurbished as we speak. So the organization's portfolio is growing more, not just in Shashamani, but in the whole of Ethiopia when it concerns the Rasta community. So the government recognizes the Ethiopian World Federation. It endorses projects that the Ethiopian World Federation is involved in. The international side of the Ethiopian World Federation is getting stronger. There was a convention held this weekend with locals of the Ethiopian World Federation worldwide, sent delegates, and a big convention was convened. A new international council has been put in place.
Revamp and the whole EWF is going.
Yeah, the whole EWF is revamping itself.
We know there will be a lapse both internationally and locally. So
see, a lot of Rastas internationally have always had this thing. Well, the Ethiopian World Federation is a sleeping giant. You know what I mean? But I can say now we're fully awake.
yes.
You understand? If one's felt that we were sleeping, they will see that we're fully awake in our activities. The Ethiopian World Federation, as far as I'm concerned, is the black government for black peoples of the world. His Majesty gave the constitution, gave the preamble for the organization. His Majesty knew in his wise mind what he was doing. And it's for us as members of the organization to use the organization.
So that's an international effort, like all the locals here in
London,
England,
Africa, Ethiopia,
USA, Jamaica.
Caribbean. Yeah, they were all had delegates at this convention. Yeah.
This was a Zoom meeting?
Yeah, it was on a Zoom, and it was also at a physical location too.
Okay.
And it's been something where international members have been working on this for a whole year.
Okay.
We're talking about 100 representatives were at the convention. There was about 17 or 18 different locals from the world that were involved in the preparations and supported the convention. It's a big convention. Okay. You know what I mean? And it means big and better things for the organization worldwide.
As a EWF member myself of local one London, even though I'm in Birmingham, what we can do for the development of the EWF itself, like, because I don't think the younger Rastafari them realize the importance of the EWF.
Okay.
Because everyone said Nyabingi, yes, I understand, but I don't think Rastafarian sisters and brethren really understand it being a member of the EWF. So if you could just elaborate on that.
Yeah, I can do. I mean, you have different mansions of the Ethiopian world. I mean, you have different mansions of the Rastafari community. You know, 12 tribes, Nyabingi, Bubushanti, and all of those.
I personally think every Rastaman should be a
Yeah.
EWF member, whether it's a Bobo Shanti, whether it's a Bingy man, whether it's a 12 tribe, whether it's an Orthodox. I think everybody should be an EWF member.
Yeah, but there's certain things that we need to understand first before we even get to that, right? Because all of the mansions, all the heads of the mansions originally were EWF members, okay? A mansion has its own way of interpreting the Bible, interpreting the liberty, interpreting the expression.
Yeah, that don't happen from there.
Yeah, we know, right? But ones of being involved in developing those mansions.
Yes.
Right? The Ethiopian World Federation is not a mansion, it's an organization.
Yes.
It's a black organization.
Yes.
Right? But within a mansion, it's a spiritual calling for ones to be in a mansion. Sometimes these mansions don't balance themselves off in a proper administrative role. You know what I mean? In a governmental role, right? Whereas the Ethiopian World Federation is solely based on government types of procedures. It's a business. The constitution is a business-like document to do business.
Yeah.
So if you become a member of the Ethiopian World Federation now, you can get involved in the committees that are set in the constitution. So you can be on the SIC committee, you can be on education, you can be on publicity. There are about 11 different committees that ones with the different skills that they have can be on these committees to provide for the membership of their local. And also it helps you to fundraise. Fundraising is part of the organization's portfolio. You know what I mean? But in terms of understanding business, understanding how a government works, understanding how to represent ourselves, then the Ethiopian World Federation is established for that. So you find now that a lot of the younger ones in different mansions are starting to come to the organization because it actually gives you work to do. You can be in a mansion and you haven't got nothing to do, you're just part of the mansion. Somebody can look at you and say, well, yes, he's a Bobo Shanti. But when you ask him, what is he actually doing outside of prayers? There's not much he can tell you. You understand? Because we've got to remember, the Rastafari liberty is one of black liberation, So black liberation means organize and centralize.
Yes.
So you've got to have something that you're organizing and centralizing around. And His Majesty has given us that, which is the Ethiopian World Federation. So with anything in life, you have to study. And once you study about the Ethiopian World Federation as a Rasta, you will get to understand the importance of you being part of it. You understand? So it's to get that balance. So the Ethiopian World Federation now, in the way how it's revamping itself, is in a good position now to put that message out, but put it out properly. You know what I mean? It's not that, because years ago, you know what I mean, you had, Prince Emmanuel, you know what I mean, member of the Ethiopian World Federation, and Prophet Gad, member of the Ethiopian World Federation. You know what I mean? A lot of the elders from the Naibingi house are members of the Ethiopian World Federation. You know what I mean? So Ethiopian World Federation has always been there. But because of the lack of understanding of the purpose of the EWF, you find ones went off and set up their own. But nothing wrong with setting up your mansion, There's nothing wrong in that. But you can't forget the root. And the Ethiopian World Federation is the root when it concerns organizing and centralizing on a black liberation platform. And that's the beauty of the organization. Because you find a lot of the mansions try to embrace the black liberation issue. That's repatriation, reparation, organizing and centralizing. But it's very difficult because that spiritual side of their mansion is always there. And that takes preference over anything else. You know what I'm saying? So it's to get that balance. And the Ethiopian World Federation can give any mansion that balance without disrespecting their mansion. And that's the beauty of the EWF.
So the convention is to revamp the EWF on an international level.
Yeah.
Next question I'm going to ask, I want to sum up this reasoning. Rastafarian in general, we know lots of ones in Ethiopia. really been like, Bob over there side the film thing, 12 child over there side the film thing, everybody. So upon I would like to see all I and I come together as one,
Mm.
you know what I mean, and a unification, because when I and I unite together, whether you're 12 tribe or Baba Shanti, is more strength and energy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So on this 21st century, I we know say the 23rd of July, one of the most holy days for Rastafari upon our whole. You know what I mean? And the heavens will open up, And we know say the birth of the king, you know what I mean, the manifestation of the Almighty in flesh, come from earth, come show man the liberty, you know what I mean, born of divineness, is important for all Rastafarian, because the whole of it, you know, is that majesty, in kingly character, you know what I mean, that unification for all I and I as Rasta. What kind of message you can have for tell me
Well,
that?
my first message that I would say, directly to the eye still, right? Because every time when you come to Ethiopia, right, every time when we string up the sound, there are all mansions in the dance. You understand me?
Yeah.
We're already united, you of us. We're already united, right? Where history shows that ones would stay over here and ones would stay over there. You have a new generation of Rasta coming into Ethiopia who say, no, we're not on this split and divide and rule thing. You understand? If there's something to support, we're all there to support it. You understand? In Shashamani, you find that there's more unity amongst ones than before. Right? You still have your 12 tribes do their thing. You still have your Bubashan to do their thing. You still have the Federation do their thing. But you find that all of the mansions are integrating with the Ethiopian World Federation on some level. You understand? And it's not stopping them from functioning within their different mansions. So it's what it comes down to what you actually want to see and what should be in place. For me, who's been living in Ethiopia for all these years, I'm seeing the unity amongst brethren and sisterins stronger than it's ever been. Right, that's taking away any kind of mansion, just man to man, woman to woman, youth to youth. There's more unity. You know what I mean? You can heal a man now.
Yeah.
You understand? Because I'm born in England, grew up in Birmingham, and in the 70s and 80s, you couldn't walk past a black man and don't say yeah, whether he was Rasta or not. It was just to respect what we had for each other. Yeah, well, go on, brethren. And a man will give you and say, yeah, man, me good. You understand? And that kind of unity is in Ethiopia more than it was before. You understand? There is a big unity amongst ones in Ethiopia. One's down business, whether you're 12 tribe. This is my thing. Right? When I first went to Ethiopia in the 90s, I saw that you had federation on one side and you had 12 tribes on one side. There was some 12 tribe brethren, and there was me as Ethiopian World Federation. And what we said to ourselves was, look, if you're going to do federation work, agitate with the government and do certain things in the daytime, fine, go do what you do. But you see, when it comes nighttime, we mingle together. You understand? We reason. You know, we bond with Aishens, we cook with pata food together. We do so much things together. You understand? That's the unity. Because ones will know, so, well, boy, Rueben is going to get up in the morning, he's got this government people to go and deal with, he's got this to go deal with, he's got that to deal with. But you see, when certain hours come, I'm not one of those brethren that's just going to stay in my yard. When work time done, I'm out there looking for my brethren and my sisterins, and we're doing the thing. We had our own club out there still, Ram Jam Reggae nightclub, and that was a spot where everybody used to come. Doesn't matter where you come from, what kind of tribe or mansion you come from. We all, come there. We like reggae music. We like the culture. We like to dance. We're dancing people. So if we can't dance, we get depressed. So we have to cater for our needs too. Outside of any kind of mansion. Unity is the accepted goal.
Yeah.
And it has to start with the individual.
Ubuntu.
So that's
We are
that's the
together.
unity, and
Yeah.
it's got better, all right, and it's getting stronger. I'm not saying there's still no issues. There are still issues. You know what I'm saying? But the issues are not as, they don't take as much precedence over things like how it used to. You know what I mean? I'm not there to argue with a man to say, well, you should be a member of the EWF. It's by choice. But if certain things are going to happen to you, right, our door is open. You know what to do. Come through the door. We'll not stop you. You understand? So everyone is free to do what they want.
We must all learn to forgive each other, you know?
Yes, well, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, cause we have to move on in life, you know? We must all learn to forgive each other, you know what I mean? And move on in life, because the youths them a grow up, the world is looking to Rastafari. You know what I mean? So I really have to set presidency, you know? And a lot of people look for answers, and if the rest of them can't get them the answer, it's like a lot of people don't have no hope. You know what I mean? So if we are in disagreement with each other and fight, it's like them hope, cause them say, you know what I mean? So I, whatever bad blood we have amongst each other, sometimes we have to look past it, you know, and move ahead, you know, and find a common ground. You know what I mean? Because we can't stay stagnant. We have to keep moving on forward. You know what I mean? Because I is the light of the world. So we're looking forward, and we're not look back, you know. We still a trod on. We still a give thanks for life and health and strength. You know what I mean? Big up all of the pioneers them who trod before who made the journey for a long time. Some has transcend into the realms. Some still a fight the fight and the struggles. You know what I mean? Anyone you want to big up, Rueben? Kush?
Yeah, I'll big up the whole Rastafari community worldwide, but I will say that we need to show each other kindness. We need to be kind to each other. We need to show each other tolerance more, and we need to be consistent in whatever things that we do when it comes to the Black liberation. Sometimes when we don't stay consistent enough, we do things and then we stop, and then we wonder why it didn't work. You understand? So we need to be mindful of those things. Information is the key. Get as much information as you can. The more information you have, the more choices you can make. You understand? So I send full respect to all the Rastafari community worldwide. You understand? I send full respect to all ones who are actively involved in the Black liberation struggle, and to continue the work. And as what was said earlier, if there are any artists, reggae artists out there, you know what I mean, I'm talking about the Bujus and the, you know what I mean, the Chronics and